Hi everyone, Martin here, ICTmagic, with this week's EdTech livestream. First of all, here's the news. Move over Snapchat, there's a new app in town. The app, Musical.ly, is gaining popularity with teens, but the videos tend to have a musical theme. Users can then share these with friends. It's being reported that a school in California is taking EdTech to the next level. It uses a system of cameras and uses technology to build playlists of lessons for pupils to follow. The teachers take a hands-off approach. There's heavy investment from the tech community and fees start at $30,000. Read more on the BBC News website. China's current most popular smartphone game, Honor of Kings, has restricted younger users to play for only just 1 hour a day. Officials say this has been done to curb smartphone addiction. Will other countries follow suit? Next up, it's this week's interview with a familiar face. Unfortunately, the person we had scheduled to interview today ducked out at the last minute, but on hand we have publicity hound Martin Burrett. Makeup! Thank you very much for coming. Well, I was free. I'm always free. So, our research from the internet says that you were Mr. Universe in 1998, you are a fighter test pilot, and the winner of the Grand National 3 years running. Well, you can't always rely on what you read on Wikipedia. No, these are from your website. Oh. Perhaps you should ask me a question? How was rehab? What? Anyway, do you think that technology is value for money in schools? Well, I think it depends on the individual situation of the school. So many of these budgets which are used for technology and for ICT and computing are actually ring-fenced, in which case it needs to be spent in some way on some sort of technology. Obviously that can be towards training for the technology, and many schools go right up to a particular budget which they have in buying something in, but they then don't spend any money on the training for that, and I think that's a very big mistake. And also many schools don't try to roll out the technology in a staged, planned way. So it's very common for schools to buy in bulk and to buy lots of things all in one go without actually having one or two of whatever it may be in schools to start with. And also, obviously technology is part of the curriculum, so there's no getting away from that. You must teach some sort of technology within a school. It's an absolute must, not just because it's part of the curriculum, but also because it's such an important life skill which is true not just for the future, but also today. And also I think that many schools buy a particular piece of technology to fix a particular problem, which is absolutely fine if you've identified that problem and the technology will solve that. But I think there's real value in having systems in place which are generic across the curriculum, so they can be used in many different ways, and it's not just simply for one particular solution within the school. Now, many schools find themselves in financial difficulty at the moment, so if they are buying tech, then what kind of things should they be looking at? So things which a school have to have really does depend, again, on the individual school. I do think there are one or two things that are essential, so some sort of way to communicate between home and school is absolutely essential. So not just something which informs parents, but also informs the pupils about things which are going on in school. So VLEs these days are demonised in many schools. I do think that they could have a role to play. It depends on what you want to do with them, exactly how they're set up. So obviously Google has a free version of that, which may be of interest to many schools. But also having just a functional website which is easy to use, not just for parents and not just for prospective parents, but also for pupils at the school as well, to keep them up to date on what they're doing. Many schools are going down the app route, so the people that develop the UKEdTech app, their app is very good. They also develop school apps, so check that one out. But there are many different ways that pupils and parents and teachers can work together, and I think that communication is often lost between school, home and other people in the school community, and for me that is the absolute bedrock of what technology is all about. Within class there are lots of different things. Obviously you need some sort of devices in schools. Now I think it's really important that you don't go down just a single type of device. Yes, it can be easy to set up, but in the real world, there's not just one type of device out there. There are many different types. So I suggest you get some PCs, you get some laptops, you get some Chromebooks, you get some iPads and all sorts of different things, some Raspberry Pis. As long as you've got a rich ecosystem which the pupils can experiment on and use the technology which they are used to using at home, but also expanding out for the things which they don't know how to use, then that's actually a really valuable lesson for the future. Now, obviously at primary school, all teachers have to teach a certain level of computing, but what about secondary schools and beyond? So how can teachers get involved with the computing stroke ICT curriculum? How can everybody join in towards helping students with that goal? Yeah, I think that obviously teachers have to address their own curriculum area first, and pedagogy always has to be paramount when it comes to any kind of learning. But I do think areas like e-safety are particularly applicable to this, so many different teachers can help with that. I think history teachers especially, so historians have a particular role they can play in using evidence, highlighting sources, and that has real implications for things like fake news, which is obviously a hot topic at the moment. And geography teachers obviously can help with things like mapping applications. So yes, technology can be used within lessons, but I think that lessons can also be used in technology to help in other curriculum areas beyond what you're teaching. So always look for the way that you can teach in a cross-curricular way through technology. I think that's very important. And for those teachers who feel like they're not confident using computing and technology, what advice would you give to those people trying to help them and those people themselves to try to upskill and try to improve what they do in the classroom? Yeah, so there are several layers to this. So for me, when I don't know something, I tend to ask my colleagues, and there's usually somebody on your staff who is particularly good at technology, whether that's their job as a technician or a coordinator, or just as somebody who has an interest in that particular area. So for me, a colleague, and asking a colleague is usually the best and easiest, quickest way of finding out something you're not quite sure about. Beyond that, if you're not able to contact a colleague, whether you don't have that network set up or you don't feel confident, then going further afield to things like Twitter and asking particular people on Twitter, and people are always welcome to ask me. I'm ICTmagic on Twitter. And usually you can get responses fairly quickly, and there is a vast amount of knowledge out there. Failing that, if you want to go down the search route, Google often has the answer, but actually I find that sites like YouTube tend to be better when it comes to technology, because they can actually show you, and it's much easier to see not just the video itself, but also when you're searching through, you get a good idea of what it is from thumbnails and by watching just the first couple of seconds. So there are lots of different resources out there. Blogs as well are also fantastic. And going even further afield, if you wanted to actually leave the digital space and enter the real world again, then there are things like TeachMeets. Obviously there are training sessions. If you feel like it's very important to lots of people at your school, then you can also go down the consultancy route as well and ask for a consultant to come in to talk about something to the whole staff. But what sort of tech innovations which are being developed now or just on the horizon that are probably going to make their way into the classroom soon are you getting excited about? What do you really want to see in the classroom right now which will really improve the learning experience for our children? It's always difficult to gaze into the future, but there are a couple of things I'm excited about. So I think that a combination of virtual reality and augmented reality, and for those of people who don't know, augmented reality is where you can see actual reality in the background, but then you have things superimposed on the front of that. So for those people who know Google Glass, then that kind of thing. So I'm very excited about that and the possible applications within education. I think that could be really valuable in the future. I don't think the technology is quite there yet, and the cost is very expensive to make it a truly applicable application at the moment. I know you've got things like Google goggles, which is fantastic. For those people who haven't met that yet, then please do find out about it. But I think that the way it's going to work in the future is the fact that you're going to be able to see other people within the virtual environment. And for the cheaper end of virtual reality at the moment, that's not quite there. You do need to go up to the higher end of the scale for that kind of thing. And Microsoft are bringing out something fairly soon, which is hopefully going to solve some of that problem. Again, that's probably going to be quite an expensive piece of kit to start with. But I'm really quite excited about that. And do you think that the computing and ICT curriculum across the UK is going in the right direction? Do you think that the UK, all of the nations within the UK, remain competitive on the world stage when it comes to computing and technology for what's being taught in schools? Are we giving the right skills to our pupils? Yes, I think it is moving in the right direction. I do think that the move away from ICT, which was mainly a clerical type of curriculum, very much Word document presentation heavy, towards a more computer science curriculum in many areas of the UK and across the world for that matter, has been a really important step. Obviously there have been big changes within the curriculum over the last 10 years and within technology as well. So currently the iPhone is celebrating its 10th anniversary. So yes, I'm optimistic about the direction we're going in. Going back to our first question really, where technology is obviously, it needs some sort of upfront cost in most cases. So I do think that the squeezing of budgets has been a huge issue when it comes to computing and technology within schools, and that's not looking like it's going to change anytime soon. Obviously there are other ways that can be addressed, so you don't need to these days go for a computer suite full of the top of the range desktops. You can now do many things on very cheap devices, so Raspberry Pis and cheap Android tablets, for example. So there have been pluses and minuses, pros and cons, but I do think that generally we are moving in the right direction. Martin Burrett, thank you very much. What are you doing tonight? Just to let you know that this live stream is being funded by our kind patrons on Patreon. If you want to find out more about that, then you can see the link to Patreon, our Patreon page, in the chat if you're watching live, or in the show notes if you're not. Next up, it's my ICTmagic resources. This BBC website allows you to explore the solar system and find out what distance objects are away from the Earth. Begin very local with things like aeroplanes and satellites, and explore into the depths of space. Make amazing time-lapse videos with this app. Choose the time interval for each picture to be taken, and then the video is made automatically. Need to make a PDF or Word document copy of something? Use this amazing app from Microsoft. Just use your device's camera and capture it. This is a fantastic web-based game to teach you JavaScript. Code your robots to attack the other team. It starts off very easy with drag and drop controls, but soon gets to an advanced level. Make an online booklet to share with anyone. It's fantastic for story writing. Just drag the text, images and scenes onto your book. Next up, it's this week's review, and once again it's something which I've not been asked to review. It's just something which I really like, and actually this particular device is mine, and it's a Lynx 7-inch Windows tablet, and I take it everywhere with me. It's a fantastic travel device, something which you can lug around everywhere, and it's obviously really good in the classroom as well. So if you look at the price point, it was £50 when I bought it. It's now even less than that on Amazon. So for the price of 2 Raspberry Pis, you can have one of these which comes with a screen which has a virtual keyboard. If that screen's not big enough for you, then it has a HDMI port, so you can plug it into other things to make the screen have another screen on it. It has micro USB, so you can put a keyboard in. It even has an expandable slot, so you can put more storage in. And if you go the other way, if you're looking at the price of a brand new iPad, then you can have 7 or 8 of these in your classroom for the price of a full-size iPad. So obviously a lot more bang for your buck. and it's a fairly speedy device. It's not going to run really high-end software very well, like Photoshop and that kind of thing, but for everyday surfing, for everything you're going to do in the classroom, basically, it's going to be absolutely fine. So I've got a copy of Microsoft Office on there, and yeah, it's a fantastic device. So yeah, check that one out. The link is in the show notes. Next up, it's my weekly scratch. Okay, today we're going to do a very quick scratch session. So I'm going to show you how to make one of your sprites, the characters that's on the screen, how to make them talk. Now there's a couple of different ways you can do this. The simplest way is by creating some sort of trigger. So I'm going to use my spacebar. So I've just gone into events and pulled out the when whatever key is pressed. And I'm going to go into looks, and I'm going to go to the say and then whatever for however many seconds. So if I drag that one in, I can change this to whatever I wish. So I'm going to change it to hello Martin. Okay, now if I press the spacebar, you should now see that it says it, and it says it for the allotted amount of time. Okay, so that's the first one done. You can also do speech bubbles and that kind of thing as well, so you can use the think rather than the say, and it does much the same thing. The other thing you can do, if I go to control again, if I go to events again and go to set up another trigger, so let's use an A key, and this time I'm going to go into sounds, and you can see that it's preset on this one to meow. Obviously it's a cat, and some of the sprites do come with their own sounds already pre-recorded. Now if I drag that in, and what I'm going to do is to change this, not to meow, but to record. And then it brings up this, which for anybody who's ever done any kind of sound recording will recognize. So we have a play button, a stop button, and a record button. So it's asking me for permissions. And I'm now recording some sound. Okay, and you can see the sound file there. Okay, so now what I can do is I can go back to my scripts, and I should be able to do recording 1. You can change the name of that so you can identify it much more easily. But recording 1 is what it's called, and now if I press A, and I'm now recording some sound. And that's pretty much all you need to know about how to record sounds. So yes, you can make it do it automatically, you can add in extra things, but for the basics of saying things on screen, either in text form or in using audio, then that's pretty much it. That's almost it for this week. If you've enjoyed the live stream, then please do subscribe to our YouTube channel to simply search for UKEdChat. If you'd like to be on the live stream as an interviewee who's not going to let me down, then please do get in touch with me on Twitter. I'm ICTmagic. And also if you've got a product for me to review, then also please do get in touch. Thanks for watching.